What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, day 2 of the WNBA playoffs for 2025 starts today, and the fever rule is in effect. We're also going to talk about the Atlanta Dream and why they really need a new facility ASAP, because watching game 1, you look at NBA facility, Aces facility, and then you look at Atlanta. Yeah, they need to do some stuff. And Dion just gave me a huge super chat. Thank you so much, Dion. Quita in the Morning starts now.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Are you ready? Ready, set, go.
Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. All right, guys, we got a lot to talk about today, and I really do appreciate your support of this channel, guys. We are doing this thing, and I do want to start off by apologizing to you all. So sorry yesterday for getting out the video delayed. Basically, the situation was I had to make the video early because I had to be at work at 6 a.m. And I was trying to get everything, everything uploaded, but whenever I'm outside of my house, for some reason, it takes like 5 years for anything to upload. And every single time I have to do that, I forget that it takes 50 million years to get something uploaded and get something out. And so because of that, the show was done, but it didn't get uploaded until an hour later, and there were people waiting and whatnot. And sorry about that. Sorry about that. But yeah, that was not intentional at all. It was gotta get to work, and I couldn't respond because I was at work. And let people know that, hey, this is delayed because, yeah, anyway. So sorry about that. Didn't mean for you all to be like, where in the world is Quita? And there were some people who were worried for my safety. Some people reached out and are you okay? Where's your show? So again, I'm sorry about that. But hopefully you all did get a chance to listen to yesterday's show, albeit late. Yesterday we had Mama play the role of the analyst. And I really did just go through her and get her thoughts about the game and all that stuff. But I do want to start off with thanking Dion for the super chat. Thank you so much, Dion, for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Salute to you, man. Says Donuts. Also, Game 3 series is too short even for the first round of the playoffs. It should be best out of 5 games. And if the WNBA can continue the trajectory that they're on in terms of growth, we might just see that. So I would not put that past what is possible for the WNBA. All right? That is something that I wouldn't be shocked if it happens, because the WNBA is in hyper growth mode, and I could totally see an instance where they're like, hey, let's actually make sure that we're providing even more ways to make money. And if you can extend the series to 5 games for the first round, I mean, the WNBA would do it if it meant that they're making more money. And that could mean more money. And so, yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't. I really would not. So Dion, I mean, not a bad idea. What do y'all think? Of course, I'm down for a best of 5. I think that would be better than the situation we're in right now, which we're going to talk about in just a sec. I think that would be better. I also would like to see the return either I would like to see a best of 5 series, or I would like to see the return of the East versus West, which we're also going to talk about in just a sec. I think one of the two needs to happen. Either we bring back East versus West, or we make it best out of 5, because 1-1-1 feels kind of tough. That's all I got to say about that. But again, thank you so much, Dion, for the super chat. Now, guys, today we got a bunch of stuff that we want to talk about. We want to talk about the Atlanta Dream and just how watching the games back to back, the place where the Atlanta Dream play is just not good enough. It's just not good enough for the WNBA. It really isn't. I love their atmosphere. I think they're fun, but at the same time, they need a bigger, better facility. From the press conference, pre and post game, that was glitchy, especially post game, that was glitchy and kept pausing out. I don't. Maybe it's because the signal. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't great. To just the fact that you can't even fit 7,000 people in the crowd for a playoff game. Not because people don't want to go, because I think people would go, but because the facility that you're at does not allow that to happen. And so, yeah. We're going to talk about that. But first, I do want to get into the headline story of the day. And the headline story today, it's the title of this episode, right? And I have called it the Fever Rule for a reason. And we're going to walk through why. And I want to walk through specifically the evolution of the WNBA. It took me a while to make the graphic. And for some reason, I always forget where it cuts off. And so like that little part always gets slightly cut off. But anyway, if y'all could hit that like button in advance, or listen to it and then hit that like button if you like it. All right. So question for you all. Did you all know that the WNBA playoffs haven't always looked the way that they do now? In fact, guys, there has been a metamorphosis of sorts when it comes to the WNBA. The league has changed its postseason format more than once in the last decade. And every single change tells us something about where the WNBA is heading. So, today, we're taking a trip back in time, way back into time, to break down every playoff iteration over the last several years. From the East versus West battles to single elimination to every team getting a home game. Guys, let's dive in. And I first want to start off with pre-2016. So 2015 was the last year that the WNBA had what I would consider a traditional format. For nearly 2 decades, the WNBA, they followed the NBA's blueprint. Playoffs were conference-based. And in 2015, we saw the top 4 teams in the East and the top 4 teams in the West make the playoffs. It's East versus East, West versus West, until the finals where you get East versus West. And specifically for 2015, we had the epic matchup between the Minnesota Lynx and Maya Moore and the Indiana Fever and Tamika Catchings. Now, you want to talk about awesome games? Want to talk about amazing playoffs? Well, the 2015 WNBA Finals, sponsored by Boost Mobile. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I'm saying Boost Mobile because, when's the last time you all heard them sponsoring a sports thing? Anyway, I'm just saying. That finals was epic. I just want to remind y'all, okay? So in 2015 was the last year we saw the traditional We saw the traditional East versus West playoff structure. And as we go into 2016, there was a change that was made. Because pre-2016, we would get the conference semifinals, the conference finals. The winner would meet in the WNBA. The winners would meet East versus West in the WNBA finals. Pretty straightforward, right? But the problem that the WNBA faced at the time was that sometimes the two best teams were not in opposite conferences. That meant that we were robbed of chances to see the true best of the best in the WNBA finals. By 2015, fans were grumbling, media was talking about it, and the behind the scenes, the league, WNBA, and the NBA knew that they should probably make a shakeup. They should probably make a change, because we've seen it in the NBA at times where, sometimes the best teams are not, the two best teams are not facing each other in the finals. It's because the two best teams are really in the same conference, and so they have no chance of playing in the finals. They play in the conference finals, which not the same thing. And because the WNBA is the NBA's guinea pig, they were like, "Hey, WNBA, see how that works. Let's get rid of East versus West," which leads us to the 2016 shakeup, where we saw an overhaul of how the WNBA made their changes, right? In 2016, a revolution arrives in the WNBA. It marked the 20th season, I believe, of the WNBA, and it brought the single biggest change in playoff history. Because for the first time in the WNBA, the conferences were thrown out the window. Didn't matter if you were an Eastern Conference team. Didn't matter if you were a Western Conference team. Because it was a strict top 8 teams, regardless of your conference, was going to make the playoffs. Top 8 teams qualified. And the seed was determined by a strict record-based thing. That meant we could see 2 Eastern Conference teams clash in the finals, or 2 Western Conference teams go in the finals, which is why I'm using this graphic. If y'all remember, 2016, we saw, now 2015 was a great battle, right? When it came to the WNBA playoffs. But 2016, guys, the WNBA finals, we saw this elimination of the conferences really show off in a great way with the 2016 finals, because for the first time we saw Minnesota versus LA in the finals, 2 Western Conference teams. And so right when they overhauled it, it was right in effect, because at that time, the Western Conference teams were amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I just want to tell y'all, the 2016 matchup between the LA Sparks versus the Minnesota Lynx, Nneka Ogwumike, Candace Parker versus Maya Moore, Sylvia Fowles, Simone Augustus. It was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And we want to talk about last year and the refs and how a certain team felt a certain type of way with how the officiating was had and all that stuff. Go back to 2016, the WNBA finals, because that was a whole thing with the refs as well. So basically what I'm saying is there is nothing new under the sun. People have been mad and complaining about the referees and some of the calls that they do and do not call. Yeah. I'm just saying. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, let me know if you want me to do a deep dive on the 2016 WNBA finals, because that was crazy. Absolutely crazy. And yes, the Sparks won. And in the photo, you can see Nneka Ogwumike, who rightly won the MVP of the finals. Anyway, side note. The big twist, guys, we saw with this change to a top 8 single elimination, we actually saw a major shift. Because not only did we see top 8, we also saw the beginning of single elimination, which meant that the first 2 rounds instead of having 3 rounds of the playoffs, we had 4 rounds of the playoffs, with the first 2 rounds being single elimination. Yes. Did y'all remember that? That we had single elimination playoffs for several years in the WNBA. I think it's kind of cool to just go back and remember that, because I do remember that. You saw the first round, which saw the 5 versus 8, 6 versus 7, and it was single elimination. So it was 1 game for the first round. If you won, you moved on, and the winners of that game took on the 3rd and the 4th seed in the playoffs. That game, single elimination. Single elimination, guys. Then, the winners of that finally entered into a best of 5 semifinals, and then go to the finals, which is also a best of 5. Something to note there. It was brutal. It really was win or go home. And it gave us some iconic 1-game showdowns, but also left fans frustrated when great teams were bounced after having just 1 bad night. Yeah, it was a tough one. It really was. There were some times where I was like heated, because I'm like, y'all just had 1 bad game. In the best of 3, y'all would have won. But 1 bad game just destroys everything. Yeah, Dion. Yeah, it was like a March Madness tournament. Yes. It really was. It really was. Phoenix says, I remember single elimination and I hated it. Yeah. You loved it. You loved it if your team got the win. But if your team didn't, you poked a whole bunch of holes in the idea of a single elimination. Right? It wasn't great at all. Okay? All right. So, at the time, the WNBA tried to spin the idea of making it a single elimination thing to kind of create more urgency. And with all the games airing on ESPN, every postseason game, the league was clearly kind of chasing additional visibility and chasing that additional drama that a 1-game series leads you to. Which leads us to the next era of the WNBA playoffs. Part 3. This is where the league grows up into a better situation. By 2022, the WNBA basically admitted that it was time to grow up a little bit. The single elimination format was exciting, sure, but a little bit too random. Teams and players wanted more stability. It was tough to figure out how to plan for postseason when it comes to the arenas, when it came to ticketing, when it came to fans, all that. It was a little bit too random with 2 single elimination series. And so the WNBA made a change in 2022. Teams and players wanted more stability. They wanted more chances to win, and there needed to be a further development of rivalries. So in 2022, the format shifted again. We said bye-bye to the byes in the playoffs, where the top seeds would just move on to the semifinals immediately. That was gone. No more sitting around and waiting to actually compete. All 8 teams played in the first round starting in 2022. And it was a bracket format. Round 1 became a best of 3 series with a 2-1 hosting format, meaning the higher seed would host the first 2 games. And if a third game is necessary, it would then move on to it would move on to the lower seed for game 3, if necessary. The semifinals and finals stayed a best of 5 series, and this cut the playoffs back down from 4 rounds, which you had with the single elimination, to just 3 rounds. But it expanded the footprint and had up to 8 extra games possible. And Kathy Engelbert talked a lot about this change and why she made it. And truly, guys, I think this was a genius idea with the decision of this guy of the WNBA making this change. And she said at the time, and this is actually what she said in 2021 about the 2022 season. All right, says, quote, "It was clear that while the prior format's single elimination games created a win and advanced level of excitement to the start of the postseason, the new best of 3 series format will provide added opportunities to create and showcase rivalries with all playoff eligible teams participating." And I completely agree. I completely agree. Instead of having 4 rounds with a 1-1-5-5 format, meaning 1 single elimination, another single elimination, and then 5 best of 5, then best of 5, we saw with the top 2 seeds getting a double bye to the semifinals, this new playoff format would allow all teams to have a consistent start to the playoffs, allow fans to better plan for like ticketing and whatnot, allow teams in their arenas to better plan, and just be a lot better in terms of creating rivalries. It's hard to create a rivalry off of a 1-game single elimination. It's a lot easier to have a 3-game battle in the first round and have the lore that creates. You know, that could be a pretty amazing, I would say. Right? The WNBA wanted rivalries. They wanted multiple game storylines, and they wanted every playoff team to get a fair shake instead of having their season ended in just 40 minutes. Okay? So 2022 saw a major change. Major change. Now, let's continue on. Part 4, version 1. The fever rule is what I call it. Because here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Right? In 2024, the Indiana Fever made the playoffs. And let's just say they were not happy. Them and their fans were not happy about the first round format because under the 2-1 setup, a lower seed could make the playoffs and never host a home game if they lose in 2 games. The Indiana Fever made noise about it, a whole bunch of noise about it. And because of the substantial reach of their fan base and the stink that they made about it, the league made a decision that was the right one to give in. The solution is a new 1-1-1 format for the first round. Meaning game 1, the higher seed hosts. Game 2, the lower seed hosts. Game 3, if needed, back to the higher seed, which makes a lot of sense because it guaranteed every playoff team got a chance to host at least one home game. It was all about fairness. It was all about fan engagement and, honestly, ticket sales. And yeah, it honestly, it worked. It's a good decision, right? Fever fans were not the only ones happy about this. GMs across the league pushed for this. To be honest with you, when the WNBA made the decision, to get rid of the single elimination and move to a best of 3 first round in 2022, there were a lot of teams that were upset that they would make the playoffs and they wouldn't have a chance to host, right? It was a thing that you would hear from maybe a couple of players and coaches about, hey, they need to change the format. It's unfair to us for us to not have the opportunity to host a home game unless we make it a 3-game series, right? There was a lot of people who were upset about this. So yes, I'm calling this the Fever rule because the Fever were the ones who got it done. They were able to put up enough noise, enough stink for Kathy Engelberg to be like, you know what? Yeah, we should make this change. Yeah, you should. You absolutely should. Right? Even though this is a Fever rule, this benefits all teams because basically all teams wanted this. Right? Especially if you consider the higher seed. If you were a higher seed, you fought and clawed your way. Unfortunately, you lost one of the first 2 games, and now you have to have the third win or go home game, and you're having it on the lower seeds court. Even that's weird, right? When it comes to the deciding games, the last game in a series, it should always be at the higher seeds location. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. And so luckily, the Indiana Fever were able to get this thing done, which is why I call it a Fever rule. Not in a bad way. I think this is the awesome way. I think this is a great way that shows that, hey, you can use your fan base to get some much needed changes. And that's exactly what they did. Thank you so much, David, for the super chat. Says, I'm a Fever season ticket holder. I'm super excited to go to the game tonight. We have waited a decade to watch our team in a home playoff game. I know people hate us, but come on, we paid our dues. I mean, y'all did. Yeah, y'all was trash for a long time. And now y'all have arrived. Then you're looking a little bit better. And now you have a chance to host a home playoff game. And truly, this is something that, and thank you so much, David, for the super chat. This is something that, should have been a thing in 2022. But no time like the present. This makes a whole lot more sense. So, if you are the Seattle Storm, right, that are hosting, the game 2, right? If you are the New York Liberty that are hosting game 2, right? The Golden State Valkyries that are hosting, well, in San Jose, but like still in California, you should be appreciating the fan base and the stink that the Indiana Fever made last year. Because I don't think the WNBA would have made that change if that fan base would have been as vocal. And now, look, everybody's benefiting from it. Everybody is benefiting. Cheryl says, it does make sense. The likelihood that a lower team was going to force a game 3 is probably pretty low. So definitely unfair to have 2 games in the higher tier arena. Yeah. Jasper says Valkyries playing a away home game. Yeah, basically. Yeah. And I think that's going to affect things. I mean, I think it's a huge bummer that they can't have the game at Chase Center. And if y'all don't know, there was already an event planned at the Chase Center. basically the Golden State Valkyries did not anticipate actually making the playoffs and making stuff happen. Like they did not anticipate it at all. And because of that, there was already an event planned. So instead of the Golden State Valkyries playing at Valhalla at the Chase Center, they now have to play at an arena in San Jose, which I believe is an hour away. So not good on the players, not good on the fans, and I think this is just something that that all expansion teams have to think about, and that all WNBA teams that share their facility have to think about, because I think it's unfair. I think it's messed up that they can't play in their arena, and I get it. The arena was sold in advance for some event, but at the same time, I think the WNBA needs to stress priority when it comes to dates, right? You anticipate making it all the way to the finals every year. Every team needs to anticipate doing that and creating a blackout date structure that allows for, if they make it, they could play at their home arena. I think it's totally messed up. Similar thing to, what was it, 2 years ago or whatever, where the New York Liberty was in the Commissioner's Cup, and the Commissioner's Cup was not had at Barclays Center. It was had in another place, another spot in New York, or was it New Jersey? I can't remember. It wasn't in their normal arena. It had to be played somewhere else, and like there was not that much fan attendance because people had to leave and go to another facility for the game. I think the WNBA needs to stress that, hey, since the WNBA is growing, you 100% need to ensure that every single possible game is able to be played at your home arena, which means the WNBA giving out the schedule and being like, hey, here's what the playoff structure is going to look like. I need you all to make sure your home arenas can have it as a blackout for every single one of those games, because you don't know. We don't know how far a team is going to make it. You can anticipate, but at the same time, you don't really know. So the WNBA needs to make sure that they have blackout dates. Yeah, Patrick, they didn't expect the Valkyries to make the playoffs. They didn't, but you should. And that's the same thing for Portland and Toronto for next season. Y'all need to act like y'all gonna make the finals and black out all of those dates. I know you're possibly leaving money on the table, but that's what you do for the NBA. And if you want the WNBA to be a thing, well, you got to make it happen. You have to make it happen. It was, but my point still stands. My point still stands, though. Yeah. It was scheduled way, way, way in advance. And also, I think as a team and as a league, you need to stress that these teams need to be able to have every possible game played at their arena. Because what's the point of having a home game at a different location that you've never played at this season? Just saying. Peg, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, if I remember correctly, the 221 was done because they didn't have charter flights then to travel. Well, partially. I do think that was partially a reason. But also, the WNBA also had single game eliminations, and they made that work, which would be a 1-1 format to start off, depending on, if the lower seed wins. Right? And so, yeah. But yeah, you do have a point, Peg. You do have a point. Travel was an issue back then. Now we have charter flights, which does make it a little bit easier. So that is a thing. All right. Anyway, so we have a new format. But wait, there is more. I always like the you watch the infomercials late at night, and they're like they're trying to get you to buy some like random pot set, and they're like, but wait, there's more. And there is more to the change for 2025, because not only do we have the FIFA rule in place where each and every playoff team will have at least one home game during the playoffs, we also have a best of 7 WNBA finals, which has a similar format to the NBA, right? The NBA has done 7-game finals for a long time, right? And for the WNBA, the series layout is going to be 2-2-1-1-1, meaning the higher seed has the first 2 games. Games 3 and 4 is played at the lower seed. And if necessary, game 5 is at the higher seed, 6 is at the lower seed, 7 is at the higher seed. So those are the various changes that have happened, and I just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to share that with you all. And I thought it would be helpful as we go into game 2 of the WNBA playoffs today for you all to have some random history. So there you have it. We've seen several eras over the last 10-ish years in the WNBA for the playoffs. We saw a normal East versus West pre-2016. Then in 2016, we saw the elimination of conferences for the playoffs, and we saw a top 8 team single elimination for the first 2 rounds take place. Then in 2022, the WNBA realized that was a mistake with the single elimination. Let's go to 3 best of 3. Go to 3 rounds in the playoffs, having the first round be a best of 3 series, a 2-1 format. And then last year, the WNBA made the decision after the playoffs were the majority of the playoffs was had. I believe Kathy Engelbert actually made this announcement before the finals began, I believe, of 2024, making the announcement that in 2025 we would see 2 major changes. Not only will we see a 1-1-1 format in the first round, which I am dubbing the FIFA rule, we also are seeing a best of 7 format in the WNBA finals. And so those are the various things that have happened. I thought it would be interesting to go through history. I love history. I love random facts about the WNBA. And as someone who's kind of been around for a long time, sometimes things kind of mush together in your brain and you forget the various eras that have been had. Like, yes, I've been watching them, but like the idea of like going back and remembering, oh yes, I remember the East versus West battles. And then I remember the single elimination chaos. Like the reason why I have this Chicago Sky photo of Candace Parker is because like part of the reason why the Chicago Sky win the championship, I'm just saying. Part of the Sky winning the championship, the Sky won and was benefited by the single elimination rule. They benefited. The Chicago Sky in 2021 had 2 single elimination games, right? Because the Sky, I think they were like the 6th seed or something like that. Like they didn't have a good record. They were like 500 on the season. They weren't good. Not totally. They had a terrible start. It was getting it together later in the season, and they entered the playoffs. And in the first 2 rounds, they played the Dallas Wings and they played the Minnesota Lynx. Beat both of them. Single elimination. Y'all remember that? Part of the reason why the Chicago Sky even win the title is because of those single elimination games where they were just like, you know what? Let's just go crazy for this one game and let's shock everybody, right? And then they beat the Connecticut Sun in the semifinals, and then in the finals they play the Phoenix Mercury, and then we have the viral photo of Kalia Copper and Sophie Cunningham, and like the whole thing. And the Sky win, and then after that, WNBA was like, nope, best of 3. Is East versus West? It's not East versus West though. Last year we did see Minnesota versus New York, so yes, that's an East versus West type of thing. But that's just that was happenstance. Like that wasn't by rule, right? That was not by rule. Kenneth says, Quita, do you hate the Fever? No, I don't. I'm actually very grateful for the Fever. Literally, the Fever rule is what I'm calling it, and I think it's great. Because if it wasn't for the Fever and their fan base putting up such a stink, guys, we would not have seen a 1-1-1 format for 2025. I don't think we would have seen it. I do not think we would have seen that. We would not have. And so, no. I think WNBA fans should be grateful for them, for that fan base. You really should be. You really should be. Yes, Jay, the Commissioner's Cup is East versus West. It is East versus West. If you all have an issue with the sound, it's a YouTube issue. Exit out of the video. Like completely exit out and come back in. Okay? All right. Okay. Now, I want to. Oh, and then actually one more thing. I want to get y'all's opinion about the evolution of the WNBA playoffs. I have a question for you. Well, darn, it's blocked off by my face. Anyway, my question is, did the WNBA finally get it right? Is the 2025 version of the WNBA playoffs, is that the right structure? I think it is. I think it is for right now. What I would love around, similar to what Dion said earlier in the chat. Right? I would like to see either that, or I would like to see East versus West be brought back. Because the 1-1-1 format, to me, is going to be terrible. And teams are going to be really mad if we see, let's just say, the New York Liberty versus the Seattle Storm in the first round. And you got to go all the way from Seattle to New York. I'm just saying. The next day, and then the following day be ready to play. Like, I think that's going to be tough. So I think in order to keep this 1-1-1 format, which I like, I do think it would behoove the WNBA to go back to a East versus West format if they want to keep this, or just make it a best of 5. I think one or the other has to be done. One or the other has to be done. Either go to best of 5 for round 1, which allows two games for the home team or for the higher seed, 2 games for the lower seed, and then if necessary for that 5th game, that goes to the higher seed. Either that, or you bring back the East versus West structure, where just the East plays the East in the first couple rounds until the finals, and then same thing for the West. To make it easier on travel. So right now, it's not that big of a deal. But just wait until we see an instance of Connecticut versus Seattle or New York versus Seattle. Those fan bases will make a big stink about it, and then the following year the WNBA will make a change. I think there has to be something done about that piece. Because I think right now it's fine because of the way the matchups lie. But it could be pretty bad. It could be pretty bad. Just saying. But yes, I do think they got it right for right now. Yeah, I do think they got it right for right now. And we'll kind of see we'll kind of see what happens from here. But ultimately, it's trial and error. The reason why I wanted to go through this is because we've seen several iterations of the WNBA playoffs recently. And I wasn't sure if everybody understood what was going on. Like, because sometimes, again, time just flows and you're not necessarily noticing certain stuff. And I wanted to do a timeline because personally for myself, as I was researching for the show, I was like, wait, how many versions did we have? And I was going back and I was like, oh, I forgot about this. And if I forgot about it, I assume some of y'all probably forgot about it too. And so that's why I made the decision to have this be sort of the theme for the show, which I thought was a good one. Now, you all tell me. Tell me what you think. Is this a good idea from the WNBA? Is it a bad idea? I'm very much curious to hear you all's thoughts about, just what's going on. I am very, very curious. And again, I do want to just say thank you all so much for rocking with me. Thank you for your support. It really, really means a lot. Hootie Pop 22 says, I think it's right until at least 6 more teams get added. Well, okay, I can see that. Yeah. It would be hard to go back to East versus West and you're still adding teams and it's not like an equal amount of, on each side. Like, I think that could be a little bit difficult. And so, yeah. GDM, thank you so much for the super chat. Says, how about them Bears? Whatever, GDM. Whatever. Sorry if we did go Pat, go. They do this every year. The Bears fake us out. We get a new coach, get a new quarterback, get some new players in the door. And it's like, okay, this is about to be our time. This is about to be our time. We're about to make some noise. Let's go, Chicago. And then Patrick Williams he looked nice in that first game early on. And then, kind of fizzled out from there. And then game 2, Bears just got blown out like dog. It's just trash. Just trash, man. What is wrong with Chicago? What is wrong with Chicago? We just can't get anything right. I don't know. We can't get anything right. And yet and still we have the best fans in the world, in my opinion. Best fans in the world. And yet we can't get it right. We just can't. We just cannot. And ultimately, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, at this point, I'm just like, whatever. Whatever, dog. Whatever. Sky suck. The Bears suck. The Bulls are whatever. The White Sox, better, but still not great. Cubs, And you sort of go down the line from there. I don't know. What's, as Mama says, there's something in the water. I don't know. Something in the water in Chicago. We're a big city. We got a lot to offer. But our sports teams, like, come on now. What's going on? What's going on? I'm just saying. I am just saying. Okay. First up, I do, thank you so much, Candace. Candace says, late post, but great job, Quita, with the questions on exit interviews. Thank you. We're waiting, just a heads up, guys, we're still waiting on info about Angel, Ariel, and Courtney Vandersloot's post exit interviews, so we don't know when those are going to be. It's probably going to be a very short notice on that, and my assumption is I probably won't be able to even make those because because I would have to work. It's a very late notice. Like the Chicago Sky just made the announcement that they're going to have they sent a press release saying they're going to have a enclosure ceremony of the practice facility that I just went to, and it didn't look like it was ready for enclosure, but okay. Okay. They're going to have a ceremony, a thing on Wednesday about that, but unfortunately I can't even go because I have to work. But after that's over, and I consume the media that's developed from that, I will then get my deep dive into the practice facility done. And then I'll be able to share that likely early next week with you all. Also, we're still doing the Heart of the Fan project. We're still doing that right now. And so if you all have not done so, feel free to still send over your voicemails. I'm still collecting those until Friday. And then we're going to just categorize everything and actually start to make videos based off of what you all have submitted. So yeah, check that out. If you can, I would love to get you all's thoughts about how you became a WNBA fan and what fandom means to you and what you hope, what are your hopes and dreams for your teams and all that good stuff. I do hope to still get that information. So if you all want to participate in the Heart of the Fan project, well, there is still time to do so. Please make sure to do so by Friday. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Now, I do want to move on to the other topic. I don't have a graphic for it, so we're just going to talk about it. We're just going to talk about it, and that is talking about the Atlanta Dream. Guys, watching the games on Sunday, the disproportionate nature of some of the WNBA teams was on full display. So game one, we saw a lot of game ones. We saw game one in Minnesota, which plays at the Target Center, which is also used by the Minnesota Timberwolves, so NBA facility. We saw the Phoenix Mercury host game one. They are in the Footprint Center, which is also the location for the Phoenix Suns, which is the NBA team. And remember, guys, Phoenix Suns, Connecticut Sun. Connecticut Sun does not have an S. Phoenix Suns do. So, anyway, Phoenix Suns, NBA, Connecticut Sun, WNBA. So you have two NBA facilities on display for the first round for game one. We have the Las Vegas Aces playing, and their arena is not an NBA arena, but it is a very nice one. It's a pretty nice arena that looks really good, holds a lot of people, and also looks good on TV. Yada yada. Good amenities, all that good stuff. Then we get to the Atlanta Dream hosting game one at the Gateway Center. Gateway Center looks the best it could possibly look. The team made the decision to have a whiteout, and the team in white were the Indiana Fevers. Fever. Why exactly the Atlanta Dream did not wear their white uniforms while they were telling their fans that it's a whiteout and had white shirts all on the seats and stuff, it was weird. Gotta say, I thought that was weird. Did anyone else think that was weird? Maybe it's just me, but that was weird. I just thought that was weird. And after the game, well, not only was the Whiteout decision, weird. But also, I want us to deal in facts. And so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go to I'm gonna go to ESPN, and I am gonna look up the games that happened on Sunday. Lynette, you are so right. Or at least I do that. I don't know if that's a community thing, but I do that quite a bit, and I have to try to correct myself. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to just take a look at attendance, because I think it's pretty important to talk about. Okay, I think it's pretty important to talk about. So, for game one, I'm sorry, it's not called the Footprint Center anymore. It's called a PHX Arena. My apologies. It used to be called the Footprint Center, but anyway, at PHX Arena, we saw 10,000 fans in attendance. 10,095 fans in attendance for that game. Game one of the WNBA playoffs in Phoenix. Game two, or another game one, in Michelob Ultra Arena in Vegas. We saw 10,407 fans in attendance. Decent numbers. For the Minnesota Valks game, 8,821 in attendance. Not great, but it is what it is. You're competing with football, and so that's the thing. Then we get over to the Indiana Fever versus the Atlanta Dream. And what do we see? 3,800 fans in attendance. 3,800 fans. Now, yes, was the arena in Phoenix packed? No, it wasn't. Was the arena in Las Vegas packed? No, it wasn't. Was the arena in Minnesota packed? Definitely was not. But the Atlanta Dream had a sold-out crowd. 3,800 in attendance, that's capacity. And 3,800 in attendance for a WNBA playoff matchup is ridiculous. Now, is it Atlanta's fault? Is it the players' fault and whatnot? No, because there were more fans that wanted to go to the game that couldn't, because the size of the arena. The arena's small. They play in College Park at the Gateway Center, which is basically a college arena. It's very small. The max that they can have is 3,800. And so, yes, this is a team that sells out all the time because they're so small. And watching these games back to back, we all knew about the Atlanta Dream situation, right? They've been at the Gateway Center for a long time, right? This is not the first time, right? But it was something about watching the games back to back that made it seem even worse to me. It made it seem even worse. Because it wasn't just the fact that you only had 3,800 people in attendance, because that's all you could have, because you're not in the bigger arena. Not only that, but if you all watched the post-game presser, because I watched the post-game presser for all four, and I basically watched them all back to back. So I waited until they were done, and I just literally just watched them back to back. And for all the other teams, it seemed like they were using screens, like it seemed like it was LED screens or whatever, like the backdrop that said the WNBA playoffs, that looked good. That looked very, very good. Looked very, very nice. The setup was very professional. It looked amazing. You move over to the Atlanta Dream, that looked like they just had it looked like they bought a backdrop from Banner Buzz. Right? Like they went on bannerbuzz.com, got a backdrop, got the hardware that's not the best. You know, the backdrop did not look great. It really didn't. It really did not look great at all. Not only that, the microphone stand looked like it was broke, which is weird. If you watch the Indiana Fever do their press conference, you saw that you know they were playing with the mic stand until Stephanie White just took it and just held it from then on out, right? We also saw the signal seem to go in and out. I don't know if y'all noticed that too, but like it was going in and out. Sometimes you heard like every other word. They'll be talking, and then like it would like freeze for a little bit, and then they would start talking again. But it was like okay, well, what did you say in that middle part? Like why? Like what's going on with the signal of the live stream? Right? So not only do you not have a big arena, not only is your arena too small for the people who want to be in attendance, right? It's amazing that in Minnesota, in Phoenix, there was clearly not a ton of fans in attendance. Clearly not enough fans, right? The arenas were not full, didn't look full whatsoever. But yet, even a partially half-empty arena in Minnesota and Phoenix still had more fans than a sold-out, hardest ticket to get ticket for Game 1 of the Atlanta Dream versus Indiana Fever. Even those games that were half full still had way more fans than Atlanta. And it seemed like a bigger deal because we were watching them back to back to back to back, right? It was a bigger deal. And I didn't talk about it yesterday in the show because I wanted yesterday to be like specifically about the games and Mama's expertise. Also, did y'all like Mama's sort of recaps about the games and whatnot? Did y'all like that? Let me know, because we're thinking about doing something similar for Game 2, depending on Mama's schedule. So yeah, let me know if y'all like that. The point is, because we watched them back to back, we're able to see like just the stark differences between Atlanta and everybody else. Which leads me to my point. Road 2 is asking, what is the solution? Well, the solution is for the Atlanta Dream to move. The solution is for them to move. And for them to move and get an agreement with the Atlanta Hawks. I think that's what you have to do. The Atlanta Dream at one point was not selling a ton of tickets. And so at that time, sure, maybe it made sense to play at Gateway Arena. But that arena is too small. It's been too small for a couple of years now. And really, we do need to see the Atlanta Dream, especially with the amazing talent of Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, and only 3,800 fans can be in attendance to watch that. That's a problem. And I think they need to figure out an agreement with the Atlanta Hawks and State Farm Arena and have their games there. State Farm Arena holds around 16,000. Now, am I saying that the Atlanta Dream will bring in 16,000 fans? No, they won't. But I do think that the Atlanta Dream can bring in around 8 to 9,000 on average. If the Atlanta Dream was at a bigger arena, I think they could at least, minimum, 8 to 9,000 fans per game. They could absolutely do that. Absolutely do that. The Atlanta Dream team owners, which I know Renee Montgomery is an owner, but I don't know the exact structure beyond that. And so maybe I'll do a little research about that. But you need to move your arena. It's not right. It's not right how small that arena is and the quality product you're putting on the court. We might see the Atlanta Dream in the finals. Guys, the Atlanta Dream might be in the finals. And can you imagine a WNBA finals game with only 3,800 fans in attendance? Can you imagine a game 3 and game 4 of the WNBA finals, best of 7, happening in a 3,800 seat arena? Y'all don't realize how problematic that is? Atlanta Dream. Your team is elite. You got a really good coach. You got some really good stars on your team. You guys are going to be really good for a long time. At some point, you need to move. Please. There's a lot of fans that I see on social media that are like, I'm a fan of the Atlanta Dream, but I can't even go to the games because there's not enough room. There's not enough tickets. They only sell a certain amount of season tickets because they literally, I think the Sky probably have more season ticket holders than the entire arena for the Atlanta Dream. And this guy have more season ticket holders than the entire arena. That's a problem. I hope so, Joyce. I hope they're thinking about it. I hope they're thinking about it. I hope they are in contact with State Farm Arena saying, hey, what can we do? We might end up in the WNBA finals. Now, I love the Atlanta Dream's atmosphere. I think they do a great job in terms of their in-game entertainment. I really do. I think they have a really cool looking court. They've created a great atmosphere, but you need better facilities. You need a bigger arena. You need a better press availability, or at least get the signal to work. I don't know. I don't know what the issue was with that signal stuff. Get microphones that actually, are good on the microphone stand. I'm just saying, literally compare the other teams on Sunday to the Atlanta Dream, and it's just a stark difference. Stark difference. Amelia says, I have a friend that is a season ticket holder, and she said she thinks they are looking for a bigger facility. They better be looking for a bigger facility. Yeah. They better. WVZO says, Atlanta needs to get Usher involved. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. All right, that's it. Amarachi says, the way Atlanta sports work, the team usually has to go far for fans to show up. Then again, I would be more likely to go to a game in Atlanta than all the way in College Park. I mean, I think they'll show up. But again, I'm not from Atlanta. I don't know Atlanta like that. But I would imagine, 8 to 9,000 showing up on average. I could totally see that. I could totally see that as a thing. And so, yeah. I mean, that's the show. I mean, that's what I got. That's what I got. I hope that was interesting, entertaining. You know, go down the line of adjectives to kind of say. But yeah, I thought this was pretty fun. I wanted an opportunity to talk to you all about just what's going on when it comes to the playoffs, when it comes to the dream, when it just comes to everything in general. So hopefully y'all thought this was a decent enough stream. Hopefully y'all got something out of it. Hopefully it was interesting to you all. If so, I would love if you all could hit that like button. It really does help the channel out a whole lot. I saw a comment earlier about someone wanting to get the phone number again for the Heart of the Fans project, and I want to put that on the screen real quick so you all can see it. And if you all have not called, there is still time for you to call and let me know your thoughts. All right, so let me change the screen. Yeah, here's the phone number, 88898 Quita, or 88896 Quita. Sorry about that. Or 888-967-8482. That is the phone number. Would love to hear what you all have to say. I'm getting a lot of fans that are just variety. I'm getting some who are like, I've been a fan since the beginning. Some people are like, I'm a new fan. Others are like, well, my family member took me to a game and I really loved it. Like, whatever your reason is, the call deadline is Friday. Call deadline is Friday. This Friday. All right, this upcoming weekend, I am going through all of the voicemails and going to start to develop the show. But yeah, the deadline is Friday. If you want to participate, I would love to hear what you all have to say. And if you all are like, actually, I called and I forgot other stuff I wanted to say, well, just call again. When you call, it's gonna say press 0 to, I think it's like press 0 to speak to the operator. It's not an operator. It goes to my voicemail. So just press 0. You'll hear it ring for a couple seconds, and then you'll hear my voice telling you to leave a message. Okay. All right. So make sure to press 0 if it asks to speak to an operator. There is no operator. It's a voicemail. Press 0, and literally I get them on my phone. Okay. All right. Thank y'all so much. That is hilarious. WZL says, if I'm incarcerated, will you accept the charges? No, I will not accept the charges. I will not accept the charges. You on your own with that. You are on your own with that. Okay. Aphrodisiac says, do the Hawks owners want to buy the dream? I haven't heard anything about it, so I would assume no, but who knows? We'll see. Anyway, I got to go to work. Call in your story. Call in your story about why you are a fan of the WNBA. All right. And as Tisha says, please support the channel and send the likes. Please do. And tell a neighbor, tell a friend about Quita in the mornings. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. Sorry about the delay. Sorry about the lateness of yesterday. And guys, we'll get back to our regularly scheduled program tomorrow as we recap Game 2. At least 2 Game 2s. All right. See y'all soon. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Are you ready?
Ready, set.